What about it, YouTube? All right, so how do we go forward when we as white people are noticing and then we're also aware of black fatigue? How do we navigate forward? And how do we brand white nationalism? How do we make that go forward, right? Because I agree that white people deserve to to have a host nation, like Japanese deserve to have a host nation, Chinese. Everybody deserves to have their host nation, and then the other people are visitors, right? Like even if you relocated and moved to Japan, you're always going to be the outsider. You're you're never going to be completely accepted as a member in that host nation status. You may be under the same laws, you may be whatever, but no one's going to look at you as a white person in Japan and call you Japanese. Even if you were born there, it's going to be a leap for them to accept you on that level. So what do we do, right? And especially at this point, what do we do? Well, here's what I want to warn people about, what I've been trying to warn people about, and make the distinction so that you don't fall into a trap. Okay, and how I'm going to describe it is this way, all right? When we all notice who's behind it all, the Atlantic slave trade and everything else that has AIDS in the past and currently, we notice who it is. And these people have a supremacist ideology that we all are aware of, all right? And they love to tell us that they have great big IQs and that's why they deserve to run things and have a disproportionate influence in industry and banking and law and politics and all of that. Okay, so that's kind of part of their hubris, kind of part of their narcissism is pushing that idea on the world that, hey, we deserve this because we're smarter. And then if you need some more evidence of why we should be in charge, we're chosen. So they have all of this built-in pride, exceeding pride. It's above and beyond anything healthy. And the Bible warns about pride. And those who are humble will be exalted, and those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Okay, but the Jews don't pay attention to even their own Bible because all they do is debate. And the debate, so it's all just a debate society that takes apart whatever section of the Torah or the Talmud or the Gemara or the Kabbalah. It's all amalgamation, and then it all just becomes a debate society from there. But the debate society, if you pay attention to the debate society, the debate is never, should we be, decent and good and sociable and stuff. No, the debate is how antisocial should we be. So if you'll have one rabbi that puts it at like a 5, we should be about a 5 on the scale of antisocial, and then you'll have these others that are like, no, hell no, we need to be a 10. So that's why the debate over the raping of prisoners in Gaza isn't about whether we should do it or not. It's about whether or not it should be mandatory or if we're doing it enough. So that's how wild it is with them. They're just exceeding hubris, pride, and their justifications that they make for themselves to cause so much suffering upon the world while calling it healing, while calling it education. They just destroy everything in their path that they're able to destroy. That doesn't serve them. It's all about serving them in some hyper, selfish, and prideful way. So we know that about them. What else do we know about them? We know that they play this perpetual victim status. Oy vey. All throughout history, people just hate us. Oy vey. We're picked on. Oy vey. We're just perpetual victims. Okay? So what have they done, if you think about it? What have they done? What are they doing with us? They've exported part of their AIDS and rabies onto the black community. What part did they export? The perpetual victim part. The part where racists have hated upon you and caused you to suffer, and these white people are racist and enslaved you, and so that justifies them attacking and being antisocial, and just like the Jays. So that justifies them. They have no remorse. A lot of them, right? And so that just justifies their behavior. Hey, you're a racist, so I don't want to hear about how I don't behave. What part of their AIDS and rabies did they export to the whites? Well, think about it. The part where you're smarter, you're supreme, you're superior, you have a higher IQ, right? That's what I hear from a lot of these white nationalists is, oh, look at the IQ and and then the Colin Flaherty. Let's just look at all of this that they're doing. Let's just drown ourselves in this to the point where every time we see any black person, we're going to associate that with them and just be like, oh, I can't stand you people, right? That's what I had a problem with Colin Flaherty with. In his comment section, you could tell. This isn't helping. This isn't going to bring unity. This isn't going to bring healing. This isn't going to solve any problems. It's going to make everything way worse. We're going to have some kind of a civil war. We're going to have whites just butchering out blacks and blacks just trying to butcher out whites. That's not good. That's not good. That's not healthy. It's not what we should be fighting for. And people will dig on me all the time because I guess they live in really high crime areas of like Durham or Chicago, whatever, where it's just you can hardly find a respectable black person to help balance out your ideas in your head. Fortunately for me, that's not the case. I see black people all the time that are very respectable and honest and friendly, and they get along just fine, and I'm telling you, there's plenty of blacks that have a much higher IQ than the whites I see showing the bell curve of the IQ. I think only sub 90 IQ whites are getting heavy on this, hey, I got a big IQ idea. That's stupid, man. That's stupid. If you were really smart, what would you do? If you were really smart, you would see that the Jays have offloaded their victim status to the blacks to go forward with, and they've offloaded their superior status onto the whites to go forward with, to again fuel racial divisiveness, disunity, disharmony. So again, what would an actual smart person do? This is what I'm saying. You would not LARP as a J. You would not take upon anything that is theirs. And so the blacks need to be shown and convinced, and it's not impossible to do this. If we let them do it, it'll be easier. But they need to be shown, hey, look, you want to channel your ancient slave, you want to channel some kind of, as if you were the one in the field picking the cotton and right, and singing slave songs, right? If you're channeling that, you need to say to yourself, wait, these people brought us over here. These are the people that brought us over here. And so we've got a common enemy with our white neighbors. Okay? The same people that are effing us up and that have effed us up in the past are the ones effing us up now. They're the ones that started the NAACP. They're the ones behind blaxploitation, thug life, all of that stuff. If we can get the blacks to start getting them to notice and getting them to move their cannons over a bit. Let's move it over here. Okay, then we've made some moves in the right direction where we can team up and get them to start taking better accountability and cleaning up their own house. I have faith that this can happen. I don't have faith that hating them and saying that they need to all be shipped out of here, and basically we have a Gaza mentality about them. Oh yeah, wipe them all out. They're all animals. See, like dehumanize them, just like the Jays do to the Arabs and everyone else, right? Both sides need to get rid of their Jay Larping. You're not going to win. You have to be unblemished in this spiritual battle. You cannot be LARPing as a Jay and beat them at their own game. You're not going to. You're not going to beat them. They're going to make you look like crap. Your white nationalism will get destroyed in the annals of history of being Hitler point two. You're not going to go anywhere. So you've got to be smarter than that. You've got to, it's okay to say, hey, blacks, this is intolerable. It's got to change. And it's okay to say, hey, Jays, this is intolerable. It's got to change. And it's even okay to say, hey, blacks, it's got to change, because if it doesn't, time's going to run out for you. And then you're not going to like it. And it's okay to say that to the Jays. Jays, you've got to change. This is intolerable. It's insufferable. You've got to change. And show them what they do. Show them. Knocking down everything in a convenience store because you're mad at the people and having a fit and, showing your ass. That's intolerable. It's not going to happen anymore. Driving on the shoulder of the road in your Altima, it's not going to happen anymore. We're done with it. Taking over the streets on your motorcycles and your four-wheelers. Sorry, dude. Doing burnouts and taking over intersections. No, dude. No, dude. We are going to live in a high-trust, polite society. That's what we have decided to have. And anything that doesn't fall into that is going to be addressed. And you can cry racism all you want. But this is going to be for people who can behave. And everyone of every color is going to face a consequence if they can't figure it out. But when it comes to the Jays, there is a difference. They were given the law. They were given the law by Moses. And the first three of the laws explain how you're supposed to love God with everything you've got. Totally love God and focus your attention and love and promises to God. The last 7 are all about how you should love your neighbor. When Jesus was asked, what's the highest law? He reiterated it. He said the first law is to love God with everything you got, and the second law is to love your neighbor as if it was yourself. So in the 10 Commandments, the last 7 are all about how to love your neighbor. Don't steal, don't covet his wife, da-da-da-da-da. How to act right. So the Jays were given this on how to treat their neighbor. But they could never get any of it right. God was always frustrated with them and having to, explain to them that they're right. Even Moses had to break the when he came down from the mountain the first time because they were worshiping the calf, and it's like, you guys are completely retarded, right? So it's so odd of God to choose the Jews because you want to talk about their IQ? They had the biggest leg up. Paul told them that. They wanted to show off like, hey, we're circumcised, man, we're good. And Paul was like, dude, it's how your heart's circumcised, not your penis. God doesn't care how that's sculpted up. It's how your heart's sculpted up. By the way, yeah, you were given a leg up, but to who's given more is expected. We're all judged on what we were given. So if you were given the law, you're going to be judged upon that. Well, not today. They come up with the 7 Noahide laws, right? It's total BS. It's totally just made up, rabbinical, again, retarded crap that's over 2,000 years been dreamed up on how to enslave people and how to, do it in a way that serves their God, which it doesn't, unless you want to be like Jesus and tell them that their God is Lucifer, Satan, devil, however you want to put it, right? John 8:44. So, anyway, these people have been given the law, and unlike the blacks, they didn't even have written language, right? So these guys were given the law a long, long time ago and couldn't figure it out then. Couldn't figure it out at the cross. Can't figure it out now. So they're the ones who broke that contract. We're the ones who picked that contract up. The new covenant, and the Catholics would argue the new Israel, the promises of God, all of that are now in the hands of the church, the body of the church. It is not, Jesus said, your religion's, your crap's going to go away, your temple's going to be destroyed, not one brick. Now they got a wall of some Roman citadel or some Roman thing that they pretend was their temple and all that. But that's another, everything is fake. Everything's fake with them. Everything, their names, everything. When they convert to another religion, everything's fake. Even the Messianics, it's all fake. So, with that in mind, these guys were given the law. They can't abide by it. They're violating it up and down. They broke the contract. They broke the contract of how to deal with your neighbor when they were given it thousands of years ago. They want to talk about what happened thousands of years ago? Thousands of years ago, you were the first ones to be told by God how to treat your neighbor. And now today, you're doing what you're doing in Gaza. And now today, you're pushing your Noahide laws. And that is absolutely 100% intolerable, insufferable. It's not going to happen. And we're telling you, your time's running out. Because if you don't absolutely clean your house, somebody will. And if it ain't us, it's going to be God. You think he's going to let you go all the way through with your... I know you guys think that, right? That might makes right, and that you can force God, you can tempt, you can force God's hand, and that there's even parts in the Talmud that say how at one point God was like, you know what, you guys are so smart, I'm going to let you run it because you're better than I am at it. They say this really crazy stuff, but they've broken the contract. They've broken they've absolutely gone the opposite direction of what they were told to do. And since they cannot prove to anyone that they can be good neighbors in any kind of way, that everything's done in bad faith, that everything is duplicitous and deception, that it's got to go. This town is not big enough, this earth is not big enough for the both of us. And time again, throughout history, these people have proven that they cannot be good neighbors. So that's the difference. We have enemies, right? We have fatiguers that we consider our enemy because they could mug us or do something to us or rape us at any time. We also have Jays as our enemy that are just out of control. So with these two enemies, how do we go forward smartly? And again, to recap, you just explain to them what it's intolerable. You explain to them, but you do it like you're explaining to your child how to act and behave. You don't hate your child when they misbehave, right? You correct them, and you show them what they're doing is wrong, and you show them that there's a better way to act. And if they just can't get it right, then they wind up in prison or wherever they wind up. But that's how that's got to be done. And again with the Jays, the same thing. Like, hey, I don't hate you. This is just intolerable. We're not putting up with it. I'm sorry you can't see it that way, but you're absolutely out of your mind. And your death cult rabbinic debate society with bloodlust and megalomania is going to come to an end. We're going to shut it down. You like that term? We're going to shut it down. It cannot continue. There's no way this world can go forward with that thing in the background or in the foreground, anywhere. It's got to be rooted out and destroyed. All that complete debauchery and hellishness in their Kabbalah and their Talmud and Gemara and whatever else they pull their crap from. All of that's got to be flushed. Flushed! They want to erase the memory of Jesus. I'm telling you, we have got to erase the memory of them. We have got to absolutely destroy what is known as Judaism. It's got to go in a loving way. In a way that's like, dude, it's insufferable, it's intolerable, you're out of your mind, it's not going to continue, end of story, period. By the way, you broke the contract. You're the one who forced our hand. So you can blame yourself for all this. And in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.